Hello and welcome to this week's Medicinal Monday on the Alter Your Health podcast. I'm Dr. Susanna Alter.
And I'm Dr. Ben.
And we're both naturopathic doctors who support individuals in reversing disease and reclaiming optimal health through whole food, plant-based nutrition and mind-body medicine.
And happy Memorial Day to you, or Medicinal Monday or Tuesday, or whenever you're listening to this. But we are celebrating Memorial Day. We are sort of taking the day off besides this podcast, and we're here and we're excited to be here and excited to talk about really something that we think about, and Suzanne and I kind of go back and forth about on and on all the time. And this is this idea of supplements. We hear like everyone talking about supplements and looking for the supplement and trying to find the best supplement for this or that, or what should I take for this? I'm feeling this, and what should I take for that? So we wanted to really have a kind of a heart-to-heart on the topic of supplements, and hopefully dig through all the kind of nonsense and all the clutter and all the marketing and all the shiny labels, and really just focus on the truth.
Yeah.
Which is that in the title it's just clear, black and white. Supplements can't and won't cure us. That's not what they are ever designed to do. So we're going to talk about kind of the shortcomings of supplements in general. And then I don't know what else you wanted to talk about, Susanna.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that we already have a couple of episodes on supplements where we do specifically go into what supplements we recommend to include in a whole food plant-based diet. And they're very minimal and they're very foundational. But I feel like, really what inspired me to suggest this as a topic this week is, kind of more deeper philosophical healing discussion around supplements here.
Well, I would just interject and say, I don't know what you mean by philosophical, but also just practically scientific. Supplements can't cure us, because and when we're talking about just using that language, it's coming from the place of knowing that 99 point whatever percent of conditions that we experience are environmentally induced, lifestyle induced, created by how we're eating and living and what we're taking in, the level of nutrition or lack thereof, the level of toxicity or lack thereof. And supplements, just quite simply, do not nourish us. And while they might be used to support detoxification pathways, they can also create more toxicity. But yeah, I think sorry to interject, but you were saying that it's like a philosophical thing, but it's not only a philosophical thing.
Yes. And thank you. Thank you for that correction. Yeah. And so this has really come to mind for me in the last week or so, because I've been having more conversations with individuals who have some pretty serious health conditions going on. And as you mentioned, most of them are lifestyle conditions. They are disease of lifestyle. And it's so interesting because I've been feeling that, these people that I've been talking to, they're very interested in natural medicine. They want to do things naturally. They want to stay away from the pharmaceuticals. And they're kind of looking towards me, or they might be looking towards another naturopathic or, integrative provider for, okay, what's the natural alternative to a blood pressure medication or a diabetes medication? And it's been so blaring. It's been so in my face this last week, and I've really been trying to articulate this in conversations with these individuals. Like, there is no one supplement that's going to bring your blood pressure from 170 or 180 down to a normal range. There is no one supplement or even protocol of supplements that is going to reverse insulin resistance, that's going to reverse type 2 diabetes. We could go on and on with this list.
Or autoimmune conditions, or cancer, of course, or rheumatoid arthritis, or osteoarthritis, or, create more energy, fill in the blank.
Right.
Or heal your digestive system, fill in the blank.
Right. There's nothing. There's nothing. And if someone is telling you that there is something, then it's marketing. It's a fallacy.
And the thing that is just so clear to me also is that I was talking to you last night, there is this desire within all of us to have that really quick and easy, accessible, reliable fix for anything, whether it's a fix to a bad mood, whether it's a fix to a hangover, whether it's a fix to, inflammation in our knees, whether it's a fix to, energy issues. We all just are programmed to desire feeling good at the least minimal or the least possible um, energy expenditure. So therefore we are inherently, and it's no fault of ours, we're inherently vulnerable to the marketing traps that exist and have existed since the beginning of time, as far as I can tell. And I just hope that we are collectively able to kind of raise our understanding. Not to say that all this stuff that we could be sold is wrong or bad, or we can't ever go there or take anything. And that's certainly not the message. But at least we can maybe raise our understanding to a place where we know what our supplements are possibly potentially doing for us and what they're not. And they're not curing us. They might be helping us manage symptoms for some period of time, but they're not curing us. And I think that that's just a pill that we all need to swallow, for lack of a better pun. uh, but in any case, it's just so interesting that as human beings, again, we, it's just such a natural phenomenon. I mean, I don't know about you, Susanna, but I find myself kind of certainly looking at the shiny objects in all sorts of industry and thinking, oh, that would be really cool to have, that software or that thing that makes my life so easy. And of course that translates into the health and wellness space 100%.
Right. Right. But the message, the sentence that keeps coming to mind is there is no supplement that is going to replace the therapeutic benefits or action of lifestyle medicine, of changing one's lifestyle. And yeah, that is a hard pill for some people to swallow because they want to have their cake and eat it too, right? They want to be able to continue with their current lifestyle and simply take a natural pill that's not a pharmaceutical pill and have the results that, that they're seeking. But that's just not going to happen. And I hate to break the news to people, but that's just not going to happen.
But that being said, there's still plenty of naturopathic or functional medicine doctors who are willing to play the game of what we would call green allopathy, to find the herb or the supplement or the protocol that can take the place of some pharmaceutical prescription protocol. And certainly maybe the herbs or the supplements might be more gentle. They might be less toxic. They might have less side effects, but they're still not curing, right? So we're kind of beating around the bush here, but I guess for those of you who aren't, avid listeners to the podcast and haven't heard us talk about the hierarchy of healing, we talk about the foundation of health and how it's each one of us individually responsible for creating that foundation of health, based on how we're eating, how we're living, how we're thinking, how we're moving, how we're sleeping, etc., what we're drinking. All these kind of day-to-day habits and choices that we're making are creating our foundation of health. And then supplements are called supplements because they can be used to supplement the foundation of health, to go on top of the foundation of health. And a lot of people are trying to use the supplements to fill in the gaps of the foundation of health, the gaps that exist based on choices and habits and behaviors that people are engaged with. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's not to say that, no, you can't do that. It's to say, like, that's not going to give us the actual sustainable, lasting results and experience of health that we might be hoping for. So, if it were up to me, I would put on the package of every supplement, like this is intended to treat this or manage this. This is not a replacement for food, air, water, movement, sleep, your state of mind. This is a supplement. So if it's
Right.
not clear enough.
Well, and that's where supplements can actually have so much more of a therapeutic benefit when they are added on top of a strong foundation of health. Then, their action is carried so much more further. A person can get so much more out of it when it's brought on top of that foundation of health.
Can I give the example of my acute healing?
Yeah.
When I had an infection on my knee, a little scrape that got infected, and I don't know how it got infected. I was just vulnerable, stressed, etc. And that opportunistic infection took place, and I had a red streak going up the front of my leg. And boy, yeah, I was not thinking, what sort of food can I eat more of? What sort of, I was like, I was already feeling pretty well nourished. I was already be feeling pretty well hydrated. I already, like I said, maybe I wasn't sleeping as well. Maybe I was exerting myself too much. So I definitely took that into consideration and rested with the help of Dr. Susanna. But also, I considered what sort of supplements could go on top. And I was taking some antimicrobial things, some immune stimulating things, astragalus, berberine, just to name a couple, colloidal silver, and then some topical things, hydrotherapy. Anyways, without going into all the details, I know that supplemental protocol for addressing the acute infection worked because of the foundation of health that I had created for myself over the course of months, years, decades, And if I was kind of really in a unhealthy, kind of weak space, that's those supplements, that protocol probably wouldn't have done much for me. And I very well could have needed to go to the hospital to get, IV antibiotics or whatever it might be, which again is not wrong or bad. But it's just, we need to level our expectations of what we're going to get from from the choices that we're making and the supplements that we're swallowing and whatnot.
Yeah, and I'd like to play a little devil's advocate because I always love to play devil's advocate. Because there might be some of you listeners out there who are thinking, like, well, I can think of a scenario where a supplement cured my ailment. Um, I can bring up an example I've experienced. I've had a history of iron deficiency anemia, feeling fatigue, getting headaches every day from iron deficiency anemia. Well, I started taking an iron supplement, and those symptoms went away. My anemia went away. And
Wait,
so we
no,
could,
they didn't.
well, no, listen.
Okay,
I mean,
sorry.
that was also when I was like 17. So
Okay,
yeah,
but they went away
my symptoms of anemia went away.
until you stopped taking the supplement, and then
Right.
they
Then
would
I
come
stopped
back.
taking the supplement and it came back a year later. So okay, yes, we could have said that cured my anemia, but it didn't actually address the underlying cause of my anemia, which was the lack of iron absorption due to a vulnerable digestive system. So, it's we can always take the healing another layer deeper. It's not just one thing to alleviate the symptoms and correct a nutritional deficiency, but we also need to look at, well, why was that nutritional deficiency there in the first place?
Yeah.
And when we do really shift our focus towards lifestyle medicine and supporting, all of the functions of our body, all of the organ systems in our body with lifestyle medicine, then that's when the true healing happens. And, for me in that case, that's when my digestive system healed. That's when, ever since I really focused on lifestyle medicine, have never had iron deficiency anemia since.
Yeah, I can
So,
think of just another quick example, like
mhm.
vitamin D deficiency, of course, very common. And, depending on where we're living, depending on our latitude, depending on our activity level outside and our sun exposure, etc. But a lot of people supplement with vitamin D and take however many thousand IU per day and their vitamin D status still stays really low. And sometimes we've got this kind of clinical pearl that like, oh, maybe it's due to magnesium deficiency, so it's like add some magnesium with your vitamin D and you can boost your vitamin D levels. And because magnesium helps in the activation process of vitamin D in our bodies. But then it's like, why are we magnesium deficient? And we could come up with numerous reasons. Of course, big one being nutritional status. Just, are we getting enough nutrient dense, mineral rich food and hydration? But the other thing that's really interesting about magnesium is used in the activation of the stress response and used by the adrenals. Magnesium and vitamin C, which are two vitamins and minerals that are kind of used up a lot by our body, and a lot of people could use a whole lot more of in a quote unquote supplement sort of way. But if we just consider our stress response or our circadian rhythm, if we're living aligned with nature and we're not allowing ourselves to be stressed and dysregulated, then our magnesium stores are preserved. Our vitamin C stores are preserved. And then we have more of those nutrients available to help with the synergistic balance of all the other vitamins and hormones and minerals going on in our body. So you can just see how it can become like a whack-a-mole scenario where we need a little bit more of that, a little bit more of that, a little bit more of that. And it gets really expensive, time-consuming, tiresome, and at the end of the day, it's not, as we were saying, not that efficacious to actually cure or even manage symptoms all that well, because we're not getting to the root of the issue,
Right.
even though it's such a cliche nowadays to address the root of the issue.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, the root of your vitamin D deficiency is magnesium deficiency. Well, what causes the magnesium deficiency? It's like we could go deeper and deeper, and what deeper and deeper we go, we get to the bottom again, which is how we're eating and living. How we're relating with ourselves in the world, how we're showing up, the choices that we're making. And that's where we want to be. We want to be taking full responsibility. We want to have full understanding of the short-term consequences and the longer-term consequences of our choices, our actions, and behaviors. And that's not to like punish ourselves and be like strict and abusive to ourselves, but is to have that understanding, self-awareness, and self-compassion to make the proactive, productive choices.
Right. Yeah, so I guess I just kind of want to wrap up by encouraging listeners, especially for those who have yet to really embark on, lifestyle change or focusing on lifestyle medicine to support their bodies and truly healing. Rather than, I hear this from so many people like, oh, well, my life is so hectic right now. I'm just first going to start with the supplements because, looking at how I'm eating and stuff, that's just too much. That's just too much. I would encourage you to flip flop that priority because you're going to get so much more of a healing benefit when you focus on the nutrition, the food, the foundation of lifestyle.
I would just add real quick that I think a lot of people, their unwillingness to do the food lifestyle stuff is the confusion, especially with the food, right? Because I talk to people a lot where it's like analysis paralysis. They hear this, they hear that, this way of doing, that way of doing things, this way of eating, that way of eating. So I'm just not going to change because what's the point? I could, just...
Totally.
So what do we do about that? Well,
listen to more of our podcast episodes.
Yeah. Well, and at the end of the day, of course, we're doing our best to sift through all the jargon and crazy scientific rhetoric and studies that exist and kind of boil it down to the most common sense, practical, tangible, actionable things that we can do. And at the end of the day, it comes down to where it's landing inside of you and what are you inspired to do? We could talk about green leafy vegetables till the cows come home. And maybe it's like, I'm just gonna put some mineral drops in my water and increase my hydration status.
Yeah, well, Can I just say, I heard from one individual, oh my gosh, started with just adding mineral drops in water to improve hydration, and boom, 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 like 3 of his major symptoms just faded to the back. And that was just because he focused on the foundational aspect of hydration.
So yeah, so it's like whatever speaks to you
Yeah.
as a truth. I'm gonna do this and I know I'm gonna feel better. And then that domino falls and you start feeling a little bit better. And then there's more clarity for more inspired action. What's next? Maybe next is more green leafy vegetables. Maybe next is increasing legumes daily, whatever it is. Maybe it's just being more mindful of our sleep and screen time and these kind of things. But I guess what we're always kind of coming to is connecting with that inspired place rather than taking some prescriptive protocol that we're telling you to do. That doesn't stick, that doesn't land, that doesn't go anywhere in any meaningful sort of way.
Right. And especially if someone is feeling overwhelmed, knowing that they can take that inspiration towards those baby steps, that they don't need to do a complete lifestyle overhaul overnight, and that is going to make such a big difference in the long term as well.
Yeah.
So
if you're not sure where to start and you're wanting to have some more inspiration, the invitation is always open to join us in Thrive on Plants. This is how we support people in connecting with their own healing potential and own inspiration that's inside, and understanding just how to eat and live to reverse disease and optimize health and longevity.
we hope to see you there. And we also hope to see you next week for another episode of the Alter Your Health podcast.
Yeah, just to learn more about Thrive on Plants, you can go to www.alter.health. Lots of other resources and whatnot in there as always. And thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.